these families that these parents that literally move to another country they've never been to and they buy a property there. Are you crazy? You've never even been there and you're buying a property there. You know nothing about that area. Go live there for a year. Go test, kick the damn tire.
Hello and welcome to the Attorney Post, where we give you the inside scoop with top attorneys in their field. And now, here's our host, Justin West.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Attorney Post, where we discuss what's going on in various facets of the law with lawyers at the top of their game to help you navigate the various ins and outs of legal fields and jurisdictions. Because, as I always say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by Michael Polin, who runs the eponymous law firm that bears his name. Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fabulous. I love your intro. You don't know your rights, you don't have any. That's true.
That's the tagline of this the show.
True.
It has been for over a decade. That's why I do it. In fact, my closing line is also that exact line. My call to action is always this: if you know someone that would benefit from the knowledge in this episode, please share it with them. And this is going to be a particularly interesting episode because we're going to be talking about international real estate. Now, there's 8 out of 10 of my listeners may not be interested right now in international real estate, but 2 or 3 of them probably are out of every 10. And if you want to know how to buy, how to invest, how to move, what's the difference between buying and selling and moving and everything else, this is going to be hopefully a very useful podcast for you. So we're going to be talking about all those things today. Before we get started, however, as always, we are going to jump over and take a look at Michael's website, and then we'll take a read from our sponsors. Michael actually has 2 websites we're going to be sharing today. The main one we're going to be focusing on is actually buyinginternationalrealestate.com. It's just like it sounds, buyinginternationalrealestate.com. And of course, if you want to check them out online, you can also go to polinlawfirm.com. We'll have links to both of those down below. So do, after this podcast, please feel free to click those, follow the links, and go take a look and check out his site. Before we get started, we are going to read from our sponsors. Our first sponsor today is SearchSift. Do you know why legal clicks in Google ads cost $100, $200, even $500 or more? It's not because Google has a magical make things expensive for lawyers button. It's because Google ads is simply an auction. When 5, 10, 20, 50 lawyers are all bidding on the same high intent search volume, keywords like car accident lawyer, divorce lawyer, criminal defense lawyer, near me, etc., the price goes up and up. And this works in non-legal fields as well: roofing, plumbing, HVAC, etc. Here's what most businesses miss. Before somebody ever clicks an ad, before they ever see the map pack, before they ever choose a firm or a business, Google's already shaping the search with automated suggestions or autocomplete suggestions. And what SearchSift does is simply help position your firm or your business earlier in that search journey inside the predictive searches, so people see you and only you when they're making their decision. If somebody does a search for a generic term like personal injury lawyer in Miami, they're going to find 10, 20 different things on page 1, including a bunch of ads. But if they put your name in there along with that search, and that's what we help them do, that's what SearchSift helps them do, they're going to see almost exclusive view, and that's the power of SearchSift. And the really neat thing is they don't charge anything to do that, which is so cool. They only charge when people actually show up to your website after the work has been completed, so there's literally no risk to work with them. Visit SearchSift, that's SYFT, searchsift.com, to see what your market looks like and see what a SearchSift campaign could do for your business. Our second sponsor of the top of the hour is Groove Pages. If you run an online business, running an online business, well, it shouldn't mean paying for 12 different tools before you've even made a single sale. That's where Groove comes in. Groove gives entrepreneurs, creators, and marketers one platform for funnels, checkouts, emails, memberships, e-commerce, blogs, webinars, affiliates, automation, and more. There's no credit card required. There's no trial that flips. There's no monthly software bill to get started. Groove is simply free to use. They only earn a small percentage, a platform fee, whenever you actually do sell something. So stop duct taping together your business with a bunch of different tools. Use one and get the whole job done. Visit theattorneypost.com/groove to sign up for free and never pay anything. That is theattorneypost.com/groove. And as always, we will have links to our sponsors down below. All right, jumping back over here. So Michael is the founder of the international law firm of Michael R. Polin. I'm going to go ahead and use my previous bio. We're going to focus more on the international real estate stuff, but you're going to get the full bio here. He is based in San Diego, California. He is a U.S. and international business and entertainment attorney with decades in real estate, with decades of experience in domestic international business dealings, legal strategy, deal negotiations, litigations, and entrepreneurial ventures. His practice spans international contracts, Chinese and European joint venture deals, international litigation, trials, negotiation, global strategies, partner sourcing, entertainment law, media distribution, intellectual property licensing, and international business consulting. His firm has represented or advised clients connected to markets including in China, Hong Kong, Switzerland, France, Italy, Belgium, Germany, Morocco, Amsterdam, and the Netherlands Antilles, amongst other places. Michael has also been involved in entertainment and media matters, including television, feature films, publishing, recording contracts, animation, internet content, which we're doing right now, mobile content, licensing, etc. He's admitted in California, listed as an active attorney by the State Bar of California. That was a mouthful, and I don't think I even scratched the surface of what you do. So, Michael, my very first question to you is always just simply this: what did I miss? Because I'm sure that there's so much more about who you are that makes you tick. So, tell me about you as a person. What makes Michael tick, and who are you?
I think let me revise your intro just a tad, okay? Because
Please do.
you know you said something actually was and I'm going to get to this later about assumptions. Um, well, you said 8 out of 10 people might not be interested in international real estate. That's actually not accurate. The better way to say that is 8 out of 10 people on this show might not know about it. Because what I've learned over the years is that once people get exposed, they're interested. And that's not just boomers. That's millennials, Xers. I've got a lot of clients. Okay. And I can tell you when you're buying property around the world, once you understand the dynamic of it, you're interested, especially with the American marketplace the way it is. Just I was going to revise that for you. I mean, because when you say that, that I would agree with you. Not 8 out of 10. I'd say six, maybe 60% would say, well, I'm not sure if that would interest me. When they know about it, then it interests them. So
Yeah.
it's like what you don't know, you don't know. It's like that. So, and I've spent a lot of my time in the last, I've been doing this for 35 years. I spent a lot of my time understanding culture issues. So later on, you and I will chat about, some foibles or things that you think people need to really understand. Culture. It's at the top of the list. So I think that I spent a lot of time on it. I've done a lot at work in China and Asia. And so it always interests me the different culture aspects of doing business internationally.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, let me ask you just some very basic questions to get started then. I'm always curious about your journey. What got you into law? Were you one of the kids? Did you grow up on Perry Basin and you just knew you wanted to do law? Did you kind of stumble into it
Wow.
later in life? And then what
Wow.
led you into what you're doing right now?
Wow. You're the first person ever that nailed it. You're the first person ever. When I was in high school, so I'm 66. When I was in high school in 1974 to 77, um, I was playing a lot of sports and stuff, like most people. I was in Santa Monica, California, so sports is really big out here in Southern California. Um, but I used to watch Perry Mason, and my dad and my mom would come in and they'd say, what are you watching? It's like, this the guy, I don't know what he is exactly, but I really love what he does. I didn't know what a lawyer was. I was 13, 14 years old. I was playing baseball every day. But I used to love that show. Then when I got a little bit older, and I was 15 or 16, I used to tell people, oh, I want to be a lawyer. That what that guy does, that's what I want to do. And I got the typical proverbial, oh, you just have to stay in school. You got to get good grades in high school. And I just worry about college and that. The typical parental talking to you, right? Not to me. I was like, absolutely, I'm doing this. There's like diaries that I have that my mom shows me even as recently as now, where I said, I'm going to be a lawyer like Perry Mason. You're the first person ever that said that to you. You nailed it. I mean, I got either you're a sage or you got something going on there I don't know about. I mean, you're a really smart, intuitive guy. So, yeah, it actually was that. It was the dynamic of watching him back and forth. Even Ironside, it was interesting to me to see someone that was disabled that was that skilled. So anyway, that always intrigued me.
So you knew you wanted to do law, and you study, you pass the bar. What gets you into doing what you're doing? I mean, you've done so much. You've done entertainment, you've done international business, you're focused a lot on real estate right now. What has shaped that trajectory of doing the types of law that you do?
Yeah,
And
that's
also,
a
I'm going to definitely clip and take out of context what you said earlier about how brilliant I am, just so you know.
okay.
So,
Well, no, but you're paying me for that. Okay, so you have to pay me later for that. Okay, but good question, and I think most lawyers at my level have experiences that directed them. It wasn't happenstance. And for me, my dad did record producing when I was just a youngster. Okay, so I was hanging out in the Columbia world, the Capitol world, and I was hanging out with young Beach Boys, and that world of rock and roll in the '60s and very very early '70s. So I had exposure to it, and so I always liked it. I always thought entertainment was something I wanted to do. Now, I went to Berkeley. I mean, the thing is, when you get in law school, they don't let you, it doesn't work like that. And you have 13 subjects you have to pass the California bar, period. Okay. And you have 3 years or 4 years of education that you take. But entertainment law is not a subject. Okay, it's not. Yeah, you might learn a little bit here and there, but on copyright law for sure, or trademarks, but it's not a subject.
Yeah.
I had real experience with hanging out with these kind of people, and so it intrigued me. So when I was in school and even undergraduate, when I was in school, it's like I knew I was interested in that, and when I graduated, I went right to that. I mean, I thought, okay, I got to find law firms that do that kind of stuff, and I did. Found a big firm in LA that really wanted. I was in LA at the time. I was from LA originally, and that's what pushed me into entertainment. After about 4 or 5 years of that, it gets a little bit old. People think it's intriguing to hang out with the Rolling Stones and Van Halen and shit, and it is. Okay, except I was married, and my wife would have kids. It's like, I had to go with not think about that anymore. It was a little the late night stuff, and I was their lawyer. I mean, I was with the bands doing stuff. It's like, that's a single person's world, not a married person's world. So I decided I wanted to kind of move on. And what intrigued me was international work, but I didn't know anything about it. Let's remember there was no Google.
Yeah.
There's no cell phones. My research was done in a law, physically in a law library. I would go to a law library to look up cases. There was no access to information. And I always had liked international stuff. And when I was doing entertainment, we dealt with international contracts for like two bands touring different countries. We did that. So I mean, I had some experience in that just very specific rock and roll world of that, but nothing was real business. Not I couldn't wasn't confident doing anything else. And one day, true story, I got a phone call. This will take about a minute and a half to tell you the story, but it's worth it. And the emphasis of this is to all the people listening to this: trust your gut, trust your instinct, and trust who you are and what you're capable of doing. I got a phone call one day. A guy calls me with a very heavy accent, and he says, "Oh, this is Michael Polin, and I'm Francois from Paris, France, and do I have the right person?" I'm thinking it's a prank. And I said, "Yeah, you got me. Who are you?" Oh, and he starts explaining that doesn't mean anything to me, right? And then he says, "I'm downtown Los Angeles at the microfiche center in the courthouse." Back then, there was no computers. So
Yeah.
everything was on microfiche. Like the cases were all on microfiche. The minutes of the
Yeah.
judge, all
I
on
remember that.
microfiche. Right. You had to go there and flip the flip the little dial to go find something. He's standing there on a payphone. So, because there's no cell phones. And he says,
Yeah.
"I'm at a payphone. Could you come down and meet me down here?" I'm like, "No, I'm not coming. I'm in LA. I'm not driving down. I don't even know who you are." He goes, "Okay, so you represent it." And then he identifies three big cases that I was on that I won. And they were big cases against Los Angeles lawyers, big. And they had ripped off a lot of people for a lot of money with European clients. He says, you got this judgment for $12 million and $36 million, and you're the same guy?" Yeah. Okay, they stole $300 million from us. Now I'm interested.
All right. I'll be right there.
Now, yeah, I didn't have to do that. He came to my office. Now I'm interested because now he's legitimate. I don't know him, I don't know his client, but I do know the scenario with those guys I sued is exactly what they did to this French company. Turns out 14 years later, I represented them for 14 years. I took the job and I ended up going all over the world on a regular basis. I was doing the Shanghai deal with China to build the new airport there on behalf of the French. Just one example. Okay. I mean, represented France, represented the CEOs of these companies. They left and became CEOs of other companies. I represented them as they went around the world. It all started one phone call and my gut feeling these guys were legitimate. I didn't know anything about international law, zero. But I knew that when I put my mind to something, I'm gone. I'm going to learn it. I'm going to master it. I'm going to be the best. And that's exactly what I did. And here I am today. Now, I mean, I'm still very good friends with all those people in Europe. So I had offices and relationships in about 15, maybe 18 countries.
Wow.
So I was
That's
traveling quite a
awesome.
bit. And then I went to China, where I've been there doing business for 30 years.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
quite an experience. Anyway, I want to share that with you because you asked, how do you get into something?
Yeah,
Sometimes the chips fall at your door and you have to make a decision. Are you up for the challenge? You have to decide. And whether you're up for it or not determines your future. It does.
absolutely. No,
So
that's really cool. And the other lesson is just bet on yourself, right? If you know you got the chops, you'll make it. And you knew you had the chops, and you're like, I'll figure out what I don't know. And sure enough, you
exactly.
clearly seem to have done it.
I did it, but now it's easier because you have so much access to information.
Yeah.
Back
Well,
then,
and
I'm in
Chat GPT can pass the bar, right? So I can
a
just go ask
you,
Chat. No.
when I came home that night, my wife was 9 months pregnant. This is a great little afterthought. We are having 100-person baby shower on Saturday. It's Tuesday. And I come home and I say to her, I had this very interesting phone call today with this guy in France. She's like, you don't know anybody in France. Well, that's true,
I
but I
do
do
now.
now. I know. I go, hey, remember these guys that I sued a few years ago? And she remembered because she was a part of, everything I was involved with. So, oh yeah, they're really bad guys. And she got all those judgments against them. I go, right. They stole $300 million from this French company. She says, "Oh, you're the perfect person, honey. I'm really glad they called you. What do you want to do?" I said, "Well, they own an island in St. Martin, and they want me to fly out there and do an interview with their president." She says, "Oh, that's really exciting. That's great. You know what? In a couple of weeks?" I go, "Yeah, tomorrow." She's like, "No, no, no, no. We have 100-person baby shower Saturday. What does tomorrow mean? They're going to send a plane for me, private plane, to LAX to pick me up, and they own the island in the Dutch Antilles." She says, "There's no way you're going." I said, I remember what I told her exactly. We talked about it all night. What I told her exactly was, if I'm right about these guys, if I'm right that this is what I think it is, this could launch my entire international practice. I'd represent one of the largest companies in France and everything that goes with that, like Air France in particular. I said, and if I'm wrong, they're still paying me to go. I said, and they're picking me up in a private plane. And she said, okay, you better be back Friday or don't come back. She was like, no way. And I told those guys, I said, okay, come pick me up. It's 3 in the morning. Come pick me up. And they did. And they own the island. It's a true story. St. Martin, they own it. They own the French half of it. And I stayed in a castle. It was incredible. And I worked 2 full days. And then Friday they said, oh, the president wants to meet you Friday night. I said, no, you got to get me out of here by noon on Friday, or I won't ever see you guys again. Like,
Yeah.
oh, could you stay a little later? I said, no. They didn't have a plane.
Oh no.
Didn't have a plane. And I told them, I don't care how you do it. You get me on a plane. Air France made a delivery and picked me up and took me back home Friday night. True story. I mean, that's how do you become what you become? I mean, you take chances, If you got
Yeah.
a spouse or a partner, it's like, hopefully they trust in you the same level you do. And if they don't, if my wife would have been insistent that no, you cannot go and risk not being here Saturday, I wouldn't have gone. I wouldn't have gone. And it probably wouldn't have happened. Because a month later, the president came out to LA and met me and hired me at the Bel Air Country Club. So that started my whole career. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to
That's quite the that's
it.
quite the story. So you've
Yeah,
been
thanks.
practicing law for like 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that you step up to bat enough times, nobody bats 1,000. Everybody has some successes and everyone has some failures. And I'm also a firm believer that no failure is really a failure as long as you learn from it and you better yourself. So in those 30 years, Mike, Can you tell me about a failure you've had? Tell me about a huge setback or something that just you thought was going to go one way and everything just went south. But what did you learn from it, and how do you carry that forward in your career and your practice?
I
And
think,
unless you're the first guy that batted 1,000, I mean it's fine.
yeah, I'm probably close to 1,000, but they're clients lying to you. And so what I learned early on in my career was they often aren't going to tell you the truth, or they're going to tell you their shade of truth. So the old axiom, truth is what you say it is, your opponent says it is, and the middle is really what it is, right? That's what we all
Mm.
have learned of that. So I had a client tell me, and the thing is, I was a trial lawyer for 25 years. So I'm used to dealing with juries, I'm used to judges, I'm used to all that, right? But if you get in front of a jury and your client lied to you and the other side knows that, and they're not going to tell me, you can lose a case real fast. Had I known about the lie, or had I known it wasn't exactly what was presented to me, I wouldn't have argued it this way to the jury. Because then when the truth came out, I'm standing there going, oh, I had nowhere to go. So to answer your question, there was a time like that happened. It only happened once really to me, because after that, I got really, really good at what I call DD, due
Due
diligence.
diligence.
Yeah, and I do it on my client the same way that I do it on you or the other law firm or the people I'm opposing. I don't shade it. I go, you have to convince me you're telling me the truth. Okay, so I'd say that happened once, maybe twice. It was really embarrassing, but that didn't happen after that. Okay, because I really learned. And the second thing I would tell you is, in the work that I used to do with joint ventures, IPOs, that kind of world, it's money. And it's a lot of money, millions of dollars. And if people lie to you about that, or they mislead you, or most importantly, and I would say this is current, this is today, not fully understanding source of funds for investments, you could get in big trouble. Not just with the SEC and the IRS, the FBI, that stuff's real. Okay. But more, you thought you were structuring a great deal for everybody. And I take a lot of pride in my deals. I take a lot of time to create them, and I do it, and I have a good team, but it's all me for organizing it. But if you lie about money or the source of money, you can blow up everything. And I could be in this a year of work with everybody else. And all of a sudden it comes out like, you stole the money, you sold something you didn't own, you introduced a piece of intellectual property that wasn't yours. Yeah, that kind of thing. And that's happened to me a few times. And again, I've gotten really good on due diligence now. If you can't convince me the source of your money, I won't hire you. Can't hire me. You can't pay me enough. Okay, because I'm not interested. If I don't think you're being truthful, I'm not going to deal with you anymore. Period. So that's my advice to people.
That's a good life lesson. 100%. I love that. Well, the flip side of that is obviously successes. You've clearly had a lot. You already told me one $300 billion French case. I mean, that's crazy. But what are a couple of the things that you've done in your career that you would consider the high points, the things that the proverbial feathers in the cap? And be
I,
as elaborate as you want.
I can give you something current because this is as of this morning.
Okay.
So I'll give you something real current.
Breaking news here on the
I
show.
am. It's breaking news if you're not one of my clients. Yeah, because they know. But I am dogged. I mean, if I'm on to you, I'm on to you, and so I won't let go until I get an answer, I get a result, or I get the money that I think you're owed. So if you're my client, I'm not cheap, okay? But what you pay for is high skill, high level of determination, and I won't quit. I mean, so you don't want to oppose me, because if I won't quit, you better not quit, okay? Because I will break it down eventually. So I had a I have $55 million Ponzi scheme that happened in Panama. I do a lot of work in Panama, South America, Central America, Belize, Panama, Costa Rica. It was 55 million, 600 Americans ripped off. And we filed lawsuits in Panama. I filed them in Switzerland, filed them in Germany, chasing these guys. And they were able to avoid us, avoid the Panama court system because they fled. And even though we had the judge on our side in Panama, still they fled. This started in 2016, 10 years ago. 2 years ago, we got Interpol to agree to get involved. Interpol's international police. Interpol will only get involved normally in high-end fugitive kind of stuff, often murders, okay, less financial. But they looked at it and said, yes, we're going to get involved. And they did. Now, Interpol doesn't talk to you ever. They talk to the court. They don't talk to us. Okay. We're just lawyers. But we found out from the judge that they had found the guys in Dubai. I checked a guy in Dubai. I found him in Dubai. I verified it.
Hmm.
And Interpol had a choice to issue a red alert or a green alert. Green alert generally is more like, yeah, we're hanging out. We'll go. If you see those guys, let us know. A red alert is pick them up. If they pop their head at embarkation station or departing, pick them up. Took 2 years. They popped their head up May 12th. We got them. 10 years. We got them. They're arrested in Dubai. We're doing the extradition treaty right now with Panama.
Huh.
That is of all the things that I've ever done, it's going to be at the top.
It's a third of your career.
It's like, my clients are ecstatic. And I've stayed in touch with them for 10 years, all of them. We have 112 clients. And they're all going to go to the trial. I swear they'll all show up in Panama. I don't think it'll happen. I think when we get him extradited back, he ain't going to Panama prison. That guy, I've been there. You don't want to be there. I was terrified walking around there, I think he'll write a check. A big one. And try to get rid of us. But the Panama system doesn't work like our system. It's not like that. Here, you can do plea deals like that. They don't have that there. So the only way he get a reduced jail sentence is if we ask the judge to do it. Otherwise, it wouldn't happen. But we're going to get him back. It's been a long, long process, but I feel really great about it. Once I stuck my teeth in it. And the very last thing I told those guys 5 years ago was, don't flee because I'll find you. And they fled the next week. And I found them. So that's how I feel. I feel pretty good about that.
Absolutely. I mean, like seriously, that's legitimately that almost, it's probably like the actual paper trail is boring, but like that feels like a John Grisham moment or something that would be a great short story. Like
I'm writing a movie script on it.
Okay, well, I want a draft copy when you're done.
Yeah, I mean, I need someone to co-write it because that's not I could write, but that's not my skill set. But I have the facts. And somebody got killed in this story. Somebody vanished. There's so many things that happened in this story, and I've kept notes of all of it for 10 years.
That's crazy.
So I got to find a writer. If you know a writer, come to call me. I'm dead serious.
I don't know any script writers off the top of my head, but man, if I run into one, I'll send them your way 100%.
Well, if any of your great viewers happen to have any skills that don't know anybody,
Guys
click it over to us. Yeah, let me talk to them.
100%. Okay. Please comment down below or just send Mike a letter. But let me know so I get my 5% finder's fee. So
yeah. No problem. 5%. I'll give it in pesos. Does that work for you?
As long as it's 5% of the whole, you can translate it into whatever denomination you want. Okay, so this is kind of a related story because that really almost bordered on absurdity. But one of my other favorite questions to ask my guests is just what's one of the most absurd things you've encountered? And again, that is, I mean, it's an international chase across. Like, that's crazy. That really is crazy. But I'm sure you've also dealt with just some bald face absurdity, and that always makes for some of the best podcast fodder as well. So, what's one or two of the most absurd things you've encountered in your practice of law, Mike?
I don't know that I would go so far to say absurd, but just I'd use the word unique or use the word very different than the American political system. I would go that far with a couple of these stories, but not so much absurd. I mean, because I usually walk away from absurdity. I recognize it. And so no, I'm not doing that, you know. I've had people walk into my office and offer me a lot of money of cash to do things like suitcase, that stuff. I'm not taking that. I'm not doing that, you know. But kind of unique thing was I had a trial in Belgium. Belgium's a very I'm Catholic. It's a very Catholic country,
I am as well.
and yeah, and so the guys that we were opposing were one guy was Jewish, one guy was Muslim, I think. I forgot they were not Catholic. That I can tell you. One guy was Jewish though. And we walked into the courtroom. Can't make
Sounds
this
like
up.
a for a joke, right? Jew, a
God,
Muslim,
it
and a
does. It does sound like that, but it was real. The night before I had a meeting with the judge, judge calls me up in my hotel room, asked me to go, let's go have some whiskey. Judge. I said, oh, is the other lawyer coming? He goes, nah, we don't need him. Okay. So I'm thinking, huh. And I was working with the FBI on that too back then to get these guys arrested. And I called the guy of the FBI that I knew and I said, am I allowed to go do that? He goes, you're the lawyer, you decide. I said, okay. Well, if that's what they do here, I don't want this case to get tossed, right?
yeah, yeah.
I went out and had a drink with the judge. Well, he's a drinker. And I just had like one whiskey. And so we're talking, we had a really good time. He's like, hey, I'll see you in the morning. And the morning was a hearing to set the trial date terms, which could be about 2-3 weeks away. I walk into his courtroom, and there's a very large crucifixion hanging over his desk. I thought I was in church,
Yeah.
like Catholic. I walked in, I thought, that's okay with me. But when the Jewish guy came in, he's like, and his lawyer, he's like, they were irate and they said, you got to be impeached. You have a conflict of interest. You have some belief in Christianity or Catholicism, and that's not fair to us. We want another courtroom. The judge said, every courtroom has this. You know, we're Catholics. I'll be fair with you. Doesn't matter to me.
Yeah.
Oh man, oh man. And did I win? I did win. I'm glad you asked, Justin. Yeah, I won. Yeah. So that was, it's not that I would call it absurd. It was a bit bizarre, but I knew it favored me. And
Yeah.
I tried not to use that at all, but it was there.
It was a weird scenario into
It
which
was
you found
weird.
yourself.
Yeah, drinking with the judge the night before was a weird scenario. And then walking in to see in a courtroom with Jesus hanging there. That was a weird scenario. I mean, because it was fine with me, but not with them. Anyway,
Clearly, the judge was Catholic because you know what they say: where
yeah,
you
oh
find
yeah.
four Catholics, you're bound to find a fifth.
Yeah, that's
Actually,
true.
I regularly host a Whiskey Wednesday on my porch, so I am
Oh,
one of
do
those
you?
Catholics.
Okay. By the way, just where are you at? What city are you in?
Uh, so as my listeners know, I'm in Kansas City. Basically, I'm actually in a little. If Kansas is a big rectangle with a bite, sorry, it's my thing is mirrored. So whatever side the bite is, oh, it's over here
Okay.
now,
Yeah.
mirrored. So Kansas has a little bite out of the corner. I'm right there on that bite. A little tiny town called Atchison, Kansas. It's the birthplace of Amelia Earhart. That's kind of our big claim to
Hey.
fame. So,
Okay.
there's also a
Very
big
cool.
Catholic college here, Benedictine College. A lot of people know it because a couple years ago, one of the Kansas City Chiefs, the kicker Harrison Butker, gave a commencement speech that, like, the commencement speech that went around the world or whatever. It kind of got a lot of flack for some of the more traditionalist things he was saying. But so people know it for that as well. But Amelia Earhart's our big claim to fame. So you ever find yourself out in this area, let me know on a Wednesday, and I'll
Thank
have you over
you.
my.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's shift here. I want to talk more about what you actually do right now. And one of the things you said early on really intrigued me. So I want you to cash this check that you have already written. And what you said was this: when you explain to people what you do, particularly international um, real estate, when they understand it, they want to be involved. I don't understand it right now. I don't want to be involved. Sell me on it, if that makes sense. Like, I'm not saying sell me on working with you necessarily, but like I want to understand to the point where all of a sudden I'm intrigued and I can't get it out of my head. Can you
Okay.
do that in 5 minutes?
Yeah, yeah, I can. I can. That's actually pretty easy. Before I do that, I want you to do me a favor. Would
Sure.
you pop up on the screen for your audience my website again?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to jump over
The
here.
uh
Yeah,
the,
I
the
am talking to Michael Polin.
real estate.
This is his real estate site, buying
Okay.
international
Justin,
realestate.com.
look at the top.
Okay.
You see where it says right there, Mastermind course, and next to its pricing strategies. But Mastermind course, if you open, just click that real quick.
Okay.
Okay, so your audience later on can scroll down, but then and open up as they go. I offer a mastermind course that answers exactly what you just said. Okay, and so it's all the reasons people do or don't do things in particular. Okay, but this is what I would tell you: if you spend 5 minutes on YouTube, and I will guarantee your audience has done this, you will see a zillion vacation videos.
Yeah.
A zillion. Hanging out in Belize, going surfing in Costa Rica. Oh, look at me having my margaritas in Mexico. A zillion, right? Let me tell you what you don't see. You don't see educational videos on this stuff. There are some now that moved, now that some people kind of got this picture that do a little bit of this. But when you ask the question, oh, would I be interested or why would I be interested, etc., because people are looking to get out of America and find a better way to live. It's a real number. There's real statistics on this. There's real people talking 24/7 on what is better in certain countries. And primarily affordability is at the top of the list, right? Affordability, healthcare, top of the list. People will leave America and want a better, easier life. People don't want to be involved in all the politics we're involved with. It doesn't matter who you like or don't like politically. There's political stuff everywhere you look, right? People are tired of it. And so they're looking for that escape. Only it's not just an escape to go on a vacation, Justin. It's an escape to live, change your life, change it. And when you look around and you see what people are doing in other countries, and then you look at the affordability aspect of it and good health care, you realize, oh, yeah, I could do that. For $350,000, I can buy a condo in Belize on the water. For 400,000, I can buy a three-bedroom, 2,000 square foot home in Panama overlooking the ocean.
Wow.
As compared to 3 million here.
Yeah.
That gets in your head because when you start seeing it on these videos, you go, wait a second, that is possible. I've got a $500,000 IRA sitting. I can take 300,000 of that. And by the way, you can use your IRA and all of your retirement to buy property internationally. People don't know that. And by the way,
Because
if
it's
you
an
don't,
investment.
yeah, and also you'll love this. Your audience will love this. And I teach all this in the mastermind program. If you don't make income from it and it's just for you, it's not reportable to the IRS. Not reportable. If you don't make any income on it, it's just an asset you have. Real estate is not reportable to the IRS. International real estate. Nobody knows this. Your CPA doesn't know it. Because I
Hmm.
train CPAs, right? That gives you complete anonymity from the world. Plus, go stick it in an LLC. Go stick it in another corporation. Just follow the rules, which I show you how to follow the rules. But to answer your question though, Justin, people look at it and go, wow, I guess I could do that. I would like that lifestyle. The Philippines is I'm married to a Filipino. Okay. But the Philippines is top of my list. Panama, Belize, Philippines, they're the top of my list. Okay. But you can live 2,000 a month, live like a king. And you
Yeah.
realize it when you watch the videos, you realize it. And so when you say that, oh yeah, people don't know about it, they haven't thought about it. When they see the videos, then they think about it and go, God, I could buy something there for $200,000. I've got $200,000 and just sitting in a CD. It it's not $2 million.
Yeah.
It's $200,000 where people get their mind around it. It's like I can live in one of these countries, like Portugal, for 350 and have something in Algarve. I mean, it's a big deal. Yeah, when you watch what I do, you just watch any of my videos because I'm about education. I teach you. I go over healthcare. I go over transportation. I go over history, government relationships, titling, things like that. Important stuff, right? I do all of that in the mastermind. Attitude,
Very
does that
cool.
help you? Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean that's very cool. So this is a related question. You actually we talked about this beforehand, so this segues into another question I was going to ask, and it's simple this: what is the difference between buying and living there? Like, do some people just buy and never visit? Is there a reason to do that? Is it better to buy and live there?
Great question.
Where's
No, no, that's a great question because that's what I call the three-prong investment option. I actually call it that, what you just asked me. It's called the three-prong investment options. And so you have, let's go over each of the things you just said. And I have clients in each of those categories. Okay, you've got the investor guys, and usually because I'm a boomer, right? But guys your age, or maybe in your early 50s, even that world, late 40s, they're like how I was. When I was that age, I'm like, well, I can't leave. I gotta leave my law practice exactly, but I love living in San Diego, but I'd like to have somewhere I can retire in. That's how I thought. Exactly. And that's exactly what I did when I started buying properties. I was thinking, I'm going to rent these out or not, but later I'll use them. So you have three kinds of investors. You have the guy that's going to buy it and do nothing, just visit every year, going to go on a vacation there for 2, 3 weeks. Very possible to do that and just hope for capital appreciation. Then you got the guy that wants to buy it and wants to rent it full time because he wants the income, right? Wants the income, and then also maybe um, he's okay with never using it because it's why? Because he's going to use it later in 20 years. That's why when he retires. Then you got the third investment option, which is I'm going to buy the property, I'm going to rent it for 9 months, and I'm going to use it every summer for 3 months. Those are your three options.
it's like owning your own
Okay.
timeshare?
Yeah. Yeah, kind of like that, but you're making money because the timeshare, you're not
Make
making any
money you're
money on it.
paying,
Yeah,
not
you know,
paying.
exactamundo. And then you just gotta, with each of those options, there's a cost analysis. But that's just strictly at the beginning. You say, okay, this is my investment. This is what I'm going to put into this property. Am I going to modify it or do anything to it, refurbish it? What am I going to do, etc. And then you factor in the dollar amount, just like you would here. And then, what's the cost of upkeep? There are. I will say one thing. There's some things dealing with Central and South America, for example, that you won't deal with here so much, and that's mostly like air conditioning cost.
Yeah,
I mean, Belize, Panama, Philippines, it's always going to be pretty hot. They have their rainy seasons, of course, but it's still pretty hot. Your air conditioner takes the beating.
yeah.
Just does. So I would tell you that you're going to replace or repair your air conditioners every 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
Just accept it,
Yeah. You see.
and it's not even that expensive. I mean, you just got to maintain them. I maintain every 4 months. They're maintained, right?
The
Every five
practical
months.
popping in my head. I just want to know the answer to this. So let's say I'm tomorrow, I'm like, you know what? I'm buying some beachfront property in Belize, right? How long does it take to do that? What kind of documentation is there? And then what is the actual reality of finding people that want to rent it 9 months out of the year? Like how does
Okay,
that
that's
like is there a Venmo for people that want beachfront property in Belize or how does that work? And you don't have to give
yeah,
me all the secrets, but
yeah.
give
I
me the
mean,
10,000 over.
no, I mean those are great questions. And by answer those questions where?
You can find them at buyinginternationalrealestate.com, I'm pretty
Right.
sure.
I actually answer all those questions just in what I write there, but in the mastermind, I give you specific examples. And I go over different countries, Justin, because your question is still country specific.
Yeah.
There's not a generic answer. Okay. And every country and every continent are different. Okay. But I will tell you that pretty easy to find renters.
Okay.
Americans want to rent. They want, if you, I run, you run one ad on YouTube, just one, you'll get 1,000 inquiries. People go,
Hmm.
oh, when can I move? Where can I go? Because people know. They know they want to check out somewhere. Okay, and that Belize might be at the top of the list, and they see an ad. Oh, oceanfront condo, 2,000 a month or 1,500 a month. I mean, and you go, wow, those pictures look awesome. So I would say that's no problem. Most of these countries don't have what you and I call an MLS. Not really. Belize just started theirs. They've never had one. Panama has one, not great. But if you know realtors, they'll find you a tenant.
That was my guess was you get connected with people in the real estate business down there, and then they help you
Definitely.
find the property you want to buy, and then find the people that want to lease it out
Well,
or
actually with me on the leasing out part of it, I don't spend any time on that, but I spend on the buying part of it. With me, I have teams in every country, ground up. So with me, if you engage me, I know the lawyers, I know the title companies, I know the escrow reps, I know the realtors, I know who in the government office you got to deal with. You get all that with me. You're paying for it, but you get it all. Okay, so I'll hold your hand and walk you through it. I will say one thing you mentioned that is always super important to fully grasp is remember you're dealing with different cultures. So South America and Central America is much slower. I mean, they're just like, yeah, well, we'll get to it. Yeah, we'll do it. Whereas an American, you're like, oh no, we need the convenience. I need to get this done tomorrow. It's like, no, it's not going to work out like that. I mean, you have to go in. Belize has a very famous saying, patience is the ultimate virtue. Now, when I first started going there 15 years ago, I didn't fully grasp that. But 15 years later, I completely agree with it. And there's nothing that I ever do or say or recommend to a client except be patient. I'll find you a plumber. I'll find you an AC guy. I'll find you a tile guy. I've got teams. They'll do all that. If it takes 2 weeks, that's what it takes. If it takes another week or two to get it done, that's what it takes. Okay.
it,
I don't
I
sugarcoat it.
absolutely no, it could take
I
that long
mean,
to get so let alone internationally getting it all
yeah, yeah. It's hard enough here, you
hard enough
know?
here.
You try to find a handyman in San Diego. Good luck. It's
Be in there
hard.
3 to 5 business weeks.
Yeah.
So let me ask you a little more practical question. And I'm sure the ultimate answer, of course, is go to buyinginternationalrealestate.com. But what's the best kind of due diligence that someone should be doing, the DD, when it comes to buying international real estate?
Okay.
What is the basics?
Okay. So I do want to add this since you brought it up. Thank you for that. In the plan under services, I have a due diligence package plan. I cover everything. But I do that like if you go to services, right? Go down. There's the mastermind program right there, right? That's all. Now go down the next section. Keep going. Right there. That's the due diligence package. Right there. Okay. Now the thing is, to answer your question, it's going to be country specific. So, for example, Justin, in the mastermind program, I'm going to cover, there's 10 modules. I'm going to cover healthcare, transportation, government intervention, government laws and policies. Um, there's 10 major topics. In the due diligence plan, we cover all the topics for that one country of your interest.
How many countries do you cover? Do you cover every country? Like if somebody has a country
No,
that they invest in that you've never done, do you do
no.
that help them or
Yeah, I might, but I don't get out of my lane. I'm pretty good with 15 countries right now, 15. But if you
excellent?
ask me to go look at Albania with you, I'm fully capable of doing it, but I got to charge you to go do it. It's not going to be anything on the back of my mind. I'm just going to whip out for you. Like, I could do due diligence in all these other countries, these 15, no problem.
Yeah.
Because I either know the answer or I'll know someone that does know the answer, right? But that's the due diligence. When you say, where do you start? What's the country? Then I start there. I'll tell you the very first thing that I personally look at. I'm not blindsided by the beauty of women or beaches, or I'm not, none of that matters to me initially for you. What matters to me is what's the government policies. And I'm a lawyer, so I mean, I dig in and I know things that people don't know, but I look and I really read because I want to make sure I'm current. I give you a really easy example to that if I could, because there was, I'd say throughout the late 2000s, Portugal had what was called the Golden Visa. The Golden Visa in Portugal was the number one visa. I think Panama is probably that now. Okay, but they did, and it was very simple. kind of similar to the Trump Gold Card, is what we're doing here now. Very simple. For 200, I think it was $280,000, you buy a property, you get residency. Big deal. You want to escape America? You want to escape anywhere else? That was a big deal. And I don't mean just any residency. You get full medical, you get everything that the Portugal citizens get. And you could be in places like Algarve and Cascais and Lisbon, beautiful places. And you get a nice place, like 280, maybe 320, that world. Okay, so that was a very successful program. And what ended up happening as recently as 2018 is that the people of Portugal got pissed off. And the way they got pissed off was because Americans, some Europeans, okay, but mostly Americans, were buying up all these properties, premium properties down the water in big areas. And who used to use those? Portuguese. That's who would use them. The Brazilians would come over there for the summer, or and the Portugal people would be there for the summer. That kind of thing. Americans are buying it, and then that brought in Airbnb. So when the Portuguese are used to spending $500 a week, it was now 2,500 for the same week.
Wow.
Okay, that happened. That was real. In 2019, 20, the guy that was running for the presidency, maybe he was 21, said this has to end, and people are protesting. We have to pull this back and get rid of the golden visa, etc., and do something else. If you elect me, I'll do it. A year later, he got elected. What's the first thing he did? Terminated the golden visa. Now, if you're one of the people that was in line, waiting in line, maybe for a year or two to get the visa, you're done. You lost all your money. They're not giving your money back. Okay. So that was terrible. But then they came up with this new plan that exists today. And that exists today is they no longer have that straight buy a piece of real estate, you get your visa. That doesn't exist anymore. Now you invest $500,000. Real estate is part of it. And then you have to go ahead and hire people and engage people. You have to live there a certain amount of time during the year. You can't use Airbnb. You can't do short-term rentals. Really limited. It made the investment dead. Unless you're going to live in Portugal, Justin, you're not gonna buy that. Other countries picked up the slack. St. Kitts, Panama, Belize has their pensionado programs. They're all pretty good for retirees, by the way. But that's the kind of thing that when you say to me, the country of your interest, when we do the due diligence plan, the very first thing I look at is the government policies. And then I look at who's yapping away that's running for office. I read that stuff. I engage local people there, local politicians. I engage local real estate people. It's like, what's going on? What's the vibe?
Yeah.
Am I still looking at a rental property? Or are they going to yank it from me in the next 24 months? Part of my job is to tell you the truth. I know you love it. I know you want to be there, but I might tell you, you know what? Why don't you just go rent for 2 years? Make sure you love it.
Yeah, make sure you actually want to invest everything and move everything down there.
And
That's crazy.
the policies are stable. Also,
Yeah.
the last part of the policy, Justin, would always be what's the infrastructure currently and what's the plan?
Mm.
I'm talking about lighting, streets, electricity, water. What's the current of the infrastructure of that city? Maybe the country's different, but the city you like. What's the mayor? What are the local politicians? What are they saying about stuff like that? If you're going to invest money, you better make sure you're protected. That's
That's one
all.
of the things that would make me nervous more than anything else. I
Yeah.
have multiple friends that have been on mission trips. They've gone down south, and they all will just say sometimes you just have to have an extra wad of money in your sock, and that's just for grease and wheels, and that's just how business is done down there, and you just have to accept it. I don't know if that, as an American, as an investor, as an attorney, is that a reality on the ground? Is that something you just accept as sometimes that's the cost of doing business down here, or is that really just bribery, and we should always avoid it and Does that make sense? I don't even know. I'm trying to fish around for the question I want to ask. I don't know what question I want to ask, but I just know that there are so many weird idiosyncrasies when it comes to different cultures with totally different legal structures and the way that they view what is and isn't permissible, from monetary gifts to everything else. Like, how does, I mean, other than taking the course, obviously, I guess that'd be one of the things to always know is there's just always going to be these weird idiosyncrasies that you gotta do your due diligence.
You do, and some countries like Mexico have a long history of briberies and graft. That's a long history, and it still goes on now.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know. It's more like federales. It's more like the police, that kind of thing. Um, I have not found that in the countries that I focus on for like the buying and selling world. So, like in the local offices to get your titling done correctly, to get your accounts opened up correctly, or a bank account correctly, which is a whole nother video, bank accounts. Okay. But I haven't really found bribery or graft like that anywhere that I deal with. But on the streets, police do what they do sometimes. You just got to be aware of it. That's all. But overall, it's not too bad. I'm sure there's some countries I'm not involved with where it is.
Yeah.
Okay. But most of what I do, no, I don't find it really as too big of a problem.
Okay. One more related question. I know we're getting close to the end of the hour here, and I want to be respectful of your time. But are there countries or regions right now that are getting a lot of attention, maybe on sites like Instagram, and they're really, really popular? But are there countries that look really attractive, but maybe are very dangerous or very legally complicated? And what are those? What would you consider to be the landmines people need to look out for that look attractive, but maybe are not as attractive as they seem?
There are statistics that you can look up. At the top of my head, I can't think of the name, but there is a lot of them on crime. Country by crime, by crime. Don't ignore it. Look at it. The State Department sometimes might overdo it a bit when they rank countries, as to whether you should travel or be aware or don't go or yes, everything's fine. They have a different kind of criteria. I have kind of an on the street crime criteria. When I go somewhere, does my wife feel safe? Because she'll tell me right away. I might feel safe as a man that I don't really care. If she tells me she doesn't feel safe, I don't ignore that. It's like, okay, there's some vibe that she has, right? It's
Yeah.
real. And that's why renting before you buy is super important. This is one of the big reasons because you can read all this stuff on YouTube and everywhere about, this is the greatest city. Ecuador, Costa Rica, lovely countries, nice cities, real gang problems
Hmm.
in the big cities. Real murders, beheadings, real problems. Doesn't get written up so much, but if you do a little bit of digging, you can just look at the last 4 years and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Random shootings like in Costa Rica, in the big cities, just random. People die. It's like, and then you don't see any accountability. See, the thing about these countries is that when you have crime, if you have which you have crime everywhere, when you have this kind of crime, if you don't have accountability because the politicians are corrupt, it continues. It's
Yeah.
no different than having graffiti on the wall. If you don't paint it over, tomorrow it's going to be the next wall. It's just the way it is, right? So,
It's the broken
um,
window doctrine.
same thing, exactly. And I think that um, I would be leery of Ecuador and Costa Rica, and leery in the sense of really know where you're going. And there's one cardinal rule that I live by, and I try to never, ever, ever forget this. Don't make assumptions. Don't do it because you're going to be wrong. And the assumptions that you make as an American in all business endeavors, all is we all have reference points. And the problem is those are American reference points. You're in a different country. So they don't have your reference points from which your assumption was generated. So from your point of view, you're walking down a street that looks pretty lit up and you assume it's safe, but in fact, matter it's not safe. And maybe there's incidents there you don't know about, or there's people walking around the street that you're not comfortable with. You're like, huh, a lot of lights. I'm assuming it's probably safe with lots of light, which means infrastructure is built up here, electricity, lighting. You assume that, but it just may be a facade. I mean, it's you don't know. Don't make assumptions. Dig in. Go look. That's my advice. Go look. And before you buy anything, you definitely got to go stay there. I mean,
Oh, that makes sense.
I watch some of these videos of these people like on HGTV, right? Which I love that show. And I
Oh
watch
yeah.
these families that these parents that literally move to another country they've never been to, and they buy a property there. Are you crazy? You've never even been there, and you're buying a property there. You know nothing about that area. Go live there for a year. Go test, kick the damn tires. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a big deal. So I think, the last point I would make on you, make to you and your audience is that when you do the due diligence, at the top of the list is going to be healthcare and language. Is everybody speaking English? There's not that many. Belize is the only Central American country that has English. Only
Hmm.
English is the native language of Belize, like in like in the Philippines.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, it's Spanish or Portuguese or Kakaian or something else. It's something different, right? English matters if you're going to move to another country. I mean, unless you're already learning that language, which you should if you're going to go to another country. Okay. But if you just move there and you don't know French yet, or Italian or German, you're going to struggle. I mean,
This
so you.
episode of the Attorney Post brought to you by Duolingo. No, I'm just kidding. Get that learning streak up, folks.
Yeah,
It's important.
and they better send you and I both a referral fee.
There you go. Well, Michael, I'm going to jump over here really quickly. I just did, but I'm going to go back one more time, take a look at your site, and then I'll ask you my closing questions. I am, of course, talking to Michael Polin, international real estate connoisseur and concierge, a man of many talents, a man of many properties, and of many properties. If you want to find him online, you can go to buyinginternationalrealestate.com. He does seem to have a pretty active social media, at least on Instagram. I saw X as well. I'm sure there's other social media accounts that you're pretty active on as well, but clearly he knows what he's talking about when it comes to international buying and selling international real estate. If you're interested at all, I would strongly recommend coming over here and taking a look at his course. Our last sponsor for today is Rank with News. If there was a guaranteed way to get your law firm or your business featured in major national publications like Yahoo News, Bloomberg, Reuters, Forbes, AP News, etc., and to see those articles ranking locally, nationally, sometimes in under 8 hours for major competitive keywords that people are actually searching for, what else would you need to know? Rank with News is simply the most powerful way to hit page one in under 2 weeks safely, organically, and permanently. It's basically guaranteed SEO or search engine optimization on steroids, ranking quickly and sticking long term. If you're tired of poor visibility for your business or firm, visit rankwith.news to learn more and book a time to speak with a specialist about featuring your firm or business in major and national 8-figure traffic sites that can launch you to page one in a matter of hours and help you dominate your local marketplace. Get media exposure, rank higher in Google, win credibility, and more customers and clients with Rank with News. All right, so Mike, my 3 closing questions are as follows. Number 1, if I gave you a magic wand, you could change one thing about your practice as it exists right now. What's the one thing you would change?
Hmm. I'm pretty happy. I don't know that because I've been doing it for a long time. So I fixed all the issues that in the past that bothered me. Um, honestly, I don't think I would change anything because, okay, one thing.
The correct answer is at least you
One.
now have to work in masseuse who's always there, right?
Okay. Yeah, that'd be a great answer. Um, the problem is I can't change it. But I do a lot of work in China, Singapore, Europe. The time difference is always an issue. Now I don't mind Europe because that's just 8 hours. So 10 in the morning to me is 6 o'clock at night. It's fine. With Asia, the Philippines, Singapore, China, Thailand, Malaysia, um, it's 15 hours. And so last night I was up till midnight. It's 3 in the afternoon talking to them. It's like I can't change it But
Yeah.
all I can do is um, really try and set the time for me, which I do try and do, and put the burden on them. So, for example, I might say, I'll talk to you at 7 p.m. because that's 10 a.m. for you, just for example. And I may be really firm about it because I'm not going to stay up till midnight. Those are friends of mine. So I did that, but not anymore. I used to do that a lot with Asia. So
Yeah.
I got tired, because you're up late. So I think that's about it. I don't think I would change anything.
I don't mean to correct your pronunciation, but I believe the appropriate pronunciation is China. Isn't that how they say it now? China.
You mean
Bad-
Trump?
That's a bad China.
Okay.
All right, question number two. We go back in time without breaking the space-time continuum, and we run into young Michael Polin, maybe fresh out of law school, and you're able to whisper maybe just one piece of advice in your ear, other than, of course, the obvious: buy a lot of Bitcoin, hold it to 100K. But what advice would you give yourself getting started?
Well, I think it's easier to say what advice to give someone else that I took, because
Okay.
the advice that I would
Alternatively,
give, I took the advice, and the advice was when I looked at the international deal in France with those guys, the advice I took to myself was people need to recognize opportunities around them because they're everywhere. Most people don't see them because they're in their shell, they're in their world. I'm making my money. I'm stuck doing what I'm doing. They don't look outside of what they're doing. And so if an opportunity comes around, they probably miss it pretty often. I know lots of examples like that with people that I know. Let's assume that you recognize the opportunity. The next thing you have to ask yourself, and probably is the most important one, is do I have the skill set to pull this off? The example I gave you earlier, Justin, was did I know anything about international law?
nope.
Zero. Did I have any way to go look up anything? Zero. Did I feel like I knew those bad guys and I already kicked their butt once, twice, 3 times? Could I do it again? Yes. That I knew. This was just going to be a new environment for me. And I figured I'll learn Napoleonic law. Literally, I'll learn it, which is French law. And then I had to go learn law in Belgium. I recognized the opportunity. That's why I discussed that with my wife and said, this could be something gigantic for me if it turns out to be what I think it is. Until I get over there at St. Martin, I'm never going to know. And she agreed. I'm a very supportive wife. Of course, I better be home Friday, but I had a very supportive wife. You know, um, I would I would say that's critical. Whoever's in your life, whoever that is, make sure they're supportive of you if you're going to take a huge risk, right? Because there's big risks. You know, they could have not paid me. They could have been a scam. Okay. My wife actually thought it was the bad guys in LA setting me up to kill me. I told her
It should feel that way. Some random guy flying you
she
to,
did. She
you leave on a
did.
jet plane and you never come back.
That's what she said, exactly. And that's what she was so worried about. But my gut told me the facts of that case were very similar to the other three I did with these same guys. So I sensed it was real. But I'd say recognize opportunities and then trust in yourself that you have the skill set to pull it off. And you might fail, by the way. Okay. What'd you learn? Maybe I got too in front of my skis. Maybe I learned that. Okay, I didn't have the exact skill set I thought I had. Maybe I got to go work on that,
Yeah,
right? Or maybe next time, make sure I'm more in my lane. All of that is okay, okay. But you just have to see the opportunity and then go for it. That's what I would say.
it's good advice. It's good advice for anybody. And believe in yourself. Always bet on yourself. Question number three. So I've got a magical pencil here, and there's like this much graphite left in it. It's almost gone. So there's not enough room here to change a whole lot of laws. But if I gave you my magical pencil and you could change one law, now this can be a local law, state law, national law, or international law. This can be striking a law from the books, editing a law that's on the books, adding a new law to the books, but you can only make one change. I know it's tough. What's the one law that you would change if you could make one change, Michael? And if it's just getting rid of income tax, that's fine.
Trump's talking about it, so let's hope that happens. Okay, because you make too much money, so it wouldn't affect you. Okay, but for the rest of the world, it might affect us. I would say that because I'm so involved in international stuff, right? I've seen lots of good, lots of bad stuff. I would say that I wish that the Department of Justice would agree to represent Americans in other countries that have been wronged,
Mm.
that have been defrauded or ponzied or whatever, because they don't. They don't represent you. They don't go after anybody in other countries, very seldom. Now, the newspaper stuff you see is like, high profile, but my case was the perfect case where it's 600 victims, mostly Americans, and FBI wouldn't do anything. And I talked to them a lot. I met with them a lot. They wouldn't do anything. Okay. Because the bad guys weren't Americans, they were Europeans. And so there's a jurisdiction issue
I was
there
gonna say
with
they're
the
out of
Department of
jurisdiction,
Justice.
but
There is.
yeah.
There is. But right, you said if there's any law I could change, it'd be our Department of Justice has jurisdiction in other countries to go pick up bad guys that wronged Americans. I guess that's what I would say.
All right. Well, that's good advice. Well, Michael, thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me and my listeners today. I've honestly really enjoyed this conversation. It has opened my eyes to things I'd never really considered before. I do always like to let my guests have the final words. Are there any parting words of wisdom or last thoughts you'd like to leave our listeners with before we clock out for the afternoon?
I like what you're doing, you personally, and how you do this for people to understand and talk to lawyers. And um, I know it's too difficult on you to pop a Zoom, like to get an audience in and stuff, but it's always good if maybe you were able to do that because I'm sure a lot of people have questions about stuff. Plus, it helps promote you, you know. And people like myself might bring 100 people in for you. If I
Wow.
told my friends to come in, they'd come in,
Yeah.
right? I'm just saying you might say to a guest, if you want to invite some people in on Zoom, let me know. Most of us are going to say, okay, we'll do it, you
Hmm.
know. But yeah, I would say that the most important thing I would tell you if you're looking at buying international real estate or engaging in any kind of international transaction, I don't, not just buying real estate, any kind of contract, anything you're going to get involved with, really understand what the due diligence requirements are.
Yeah.
You have
Because if
to,
you don't know
you
your
have to
rights,
know.
you don't have any.
I, I love that. That's great.
Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have shared that with you then, I guess. So, well, this has been the Attorney Post. I have been chatting with Michael Polin, who is, of course, international business law, real estate connoisseur, concierge, and, of course, Perry Mason enthusiast. Let's not forget that as well.
Absolutely.
And as always, though we do talk about a lot of legal issues on this podcast does not constitute legal advice. And should you have a legal issue, you should always seek the advice of a competent attorney in your area who focuses on the matter that you need help with. However, I can confidently say I think that if you're looking at buying or selling international real estate, you want to dabble, you want to know what you're getting into, talk to Mike. Go to his website. Again, that is buyinginternationalrealestate.com. We'll have a link to it down below. Take his course, especially if you're looking at investing, hundreds of thousands of dollars, a few piddly $10,000 or $15,000 to take the course, do the due diligence, fly over there. Like those are all just costs of investing anyway. So I think that
Right.
would be well worth your time and effort to learn from someone who clearly knows what he's talking about. So I can confidently say I think Mike would be a great resource for you. As far as the podcast goes, if you're watching us on YouTube, we always appreciate a like, a subscribe, and a share. Leave a comment down below if you learned something new today. If you're on any of the other podcast repositories, feel free to rate us there. But the most important thing you can do to help us grow this podcast is simply this. If you know someone who would benefit from the information in this podcast, particularly someone looking at maybe buying or selling international real estate, share this podcast with them because, as I always say, if you don't know your rights, you don't have any. Until next time, I'm Justin West, your host. Thank you guys for tuning in, and until next time.